Hello.
And Carl, we communicated by
Barbara,
email.
I'm
I'm Matt Frawley.
Oh, yeah. Okay, great. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for calling.
Well, I was glad to do that.
And I got your letters. So, yeah, we received those, so thank
How are
you.
you? Well, I'm good. We're really going to do that concert.
Okay.
This happens, that's all I can say.
Okay, very good. Very good. I did talk to Carl about it.
We
And
just
so,
finalized,
yeah.
we've got 5 that have signed up so far, and contracts pending for like several others. But
It's tough. It's been tough this year.
get your name, logo,
you know,
whatever you want on the
I
3
don't know,
screens
maybe-
in the lobby. You'll get a mention from the stage, not just like,
Did have a
you can do something sort of more like, you know, those timing commercials where they say a little jingle or a little something. You can do something like that, and then a couple tickets to the show that you shoot. So can I give you a shout or email you or something? I was just talking to Wendy and Julie Pitcher today about it, so. Because that $150 will make it so that they can actually pay some of their expenses. Thank you. Okay, we'll do that.
It'd be lovely to have something like that.
Cool, thanks. May I introduce you? This is Linda Didabo. So this is Paul Borup. He's one of our council members, and this is Lisa Anderson. Both from the Summer Citizens.
Welcome. Thanks so much for being here. Yes.
Yeah,
See ya.
Yeah. But this is the man I really wanted to meet. And
No, you're that poor lady that donates your time, used to live in Riverside.
I was there this morning.
Good for you.
Kale.
Doing what?
Picking kale.
Feed that your rabbit? You don't eat that stuff, do you? You look healthy to be eating that kind of crap.
Well, I don't eat just kale.
Oh, okay. Good for you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for talking to me.
Oh, I enjoyed that. Yeah. Might not agree with you, but I enjoyed. I did. It was nice.
I think we can agree to friendly disagree, correct?
That's right. We can. You bet. I enjoyed that.
And Sharon is here too, and she might, I may say to her that she.
Well, we don't have Dave, but we'll go ahead and start, I think.
Just want to make sure.
She calls me on the phone quite regularly.
Well, welcome, everybody. We're a little late getting started. I apologize for that. We had a workshop meeting earlier, and it took a little while for us to recollect ourselves. So thanks for being here, though. We appreciate you being willing to attend our meeting this evening. We'll start with an opening given by Councilman Paul Borup.
All right, thank you, Carl. I was just thinking, it's been a few days, about a week, since the 4th of July. And this 4th of July was quite a bit different than what we had before, but I really thought about our country. And probably one of the most famous sentences that are out there that starts with, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights." And how our country, the United States, has been a bright, shining beacon in the history of the world. And that there has never been more freedom, more prosperity, more absolute positivity in the world than has come from our founders. And while our country sometimes is like that man in the arena that Teddy Roosevelt talked about, that strives valiantly but errs and comes short, that has happened in the past, but there isn't any effort without error and shortcoming. But we've actually strived as a country to do the deeds, to live up to those words. And like generations past who have had a chance to resolve that they would recommit themselves to causes that people gave their last full measure of devotion to, I think this is an opportunity for us to do that. For all the problems that are in the world, the solution goes back to those great founding documents and those men that set a course for us to follow, and that there is no better place and no better way on this earth than what this country was founded on. And I really appreciate that. And I will conclude my remarks in the form of prayer. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful unto Thee for the blessings that we have, for this wonderful valley and the place that we live, for our neighbors and friends. We're grateful to know of truths and of good principles, and at times that are struggles and hardships that we have, we'd ask a special blessing on those that are suffering from ills, that they can be comforted in their circumstance, and that we can be inspired to look around us and offer a helping hand to those in need. Father, we ask for thy continued blessing on this country and this wonderful valley. And I say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
And if you'll please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Paul. I really appreciate that. You have the agenda before you. Do we have a motion to approve our agenda for tonight?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Okay, a review and approval of the minutes from our last meeting of June 23rd. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I'll move to. Go ahead, John.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any follow-up to the minutes from our last meeting? All right. Time for the report from our county executive, Craig Butters, so we'll turn the time to Craig.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You know, that this social distancing is turning out okay for you. You have to sit on the back row now instead of having to be up here.
Well, I'd rather sit back there than sit on the front row because I have to look at my bald head on the screen.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm really conscious about that.
Don't talk to John.
I can't see it when I look in
the.
the mirror, but I can see it when there's a camera behind me. So, yeah, I get kind of conscious about that. But anyway, welcome all of you, and welcome to our visitors and to the public here. My report today, I've got several appointments that I would like to read for the sheriff's office, and these are all, I believe, for the deputy sheriff appointments. The first is for Justin O'Dowd, for Enrique Meza, Mike Corbett, Kaylee Hagler, and Cassidy Ford. I would recommend approval of all these individuals to serve as deputy sheriffs.
Do we have a motion of approval?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? Thank you.
All right, the June 2020 expense report is included in the meeting packet on your iPad, so that is available there. And I'd be happy to answer any questions after I have a chance to review that, because I haven't had a chance to review that either, and I'll be right honest with you. But I will review that before I sign that. Other items, I would just like to say, to express my appreciation to Janine for putting out the updates on the COVID, because I think that the mayors in the valley all get those you get the emails. And I think that's one of the most telling reports, because she goes through and compares today's report with the previous day. And so it gives us a good idea of where we're at. And so I know currently with the state reports, they're not in sync with our county reports. They're trying to solve that issue, and that has to do with some of the testing and how those tests are identified, and people getting more than one test and getting giving a different name on the second test. So it's challenging for the state to keep up on all those records, and I understand that. But I feel like the report we get from Janine is probably one of the best updates that, and I always look forward to that. So thank you, Janine, for the time you put in planning for that.
She does it on the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, she does?
That's right. Of course. Well, you know Janine, she doesn't quit working when she goes home or even on weekends. So, also, as an update on the fair and rodeo, we have our next fair executive committee meeting is going to be this next Monday. We are proceeding with the fair, as you've probably seen in some of the reports in the media. And there is a little bit of a perception out there in the public that the health district or the health department has basically, quote unquote, approved our county fair and rodeo. That is a decision that the county has made, and so we are moving forward with that. We did not require permission from the health department to move forward with our fair and rodeo, but their responsibility and their commitment to the county is that they will help us to meet the guidelines that we are under with the state at that time. So it's our responsibility as a county to do that, and they are supportive in every way of helping us do that. So when I say supportive, I'm not really saying that they're endorsing the activity or the fair, but they are willing to assist the county in meeting those guidelines of the state. So I just wanted to clarify that. That's a request for clarification that our health directors has asked to be made. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Craig, do we know about the amusement? Are they coming?
I talked with our fair chairman this morning. That is not, they have not made a commitment to come yet. There are other events in Idaho that they have been scheduled to participate in, and Preston is not one of them, but the others up in the farther north in Idaho. So if they leave Arizona, it will have to be because they have other events scheduled besides just ours. They will not leave Arizona to come up here just for our fair and rodeo. So we will proceed with the fair regardless of whether or not we have a carnival. But if we do not have a carnival, we anticipate there won't be as many in attendance. And so I've requested that our fair chairman get a commitment from the carnival that they will test all of their employees prior to coming to the valley to make sure that they're not COVID positive, and they have committed that they would do that. And so with that and the proper distancing and sanitizing, I feel like we can be just as safe as Lagoon is by opening Lagoon's, amusement park. So that's where we're at right now. Haven't got a firm commitment from them. I think they're waiting to make sure that they can meet all of those other events and before they go to the necessary expense and travel of coming up here from Arizona. So I think one of our other carnival companies out of Pleasant Grove, I believe they've suspended their seasons. I don't think that they're doing any events, and they are the carnival that usually goes to Box Elder County, and I don't believe Box Elder County is going to have a carnival this year. So that's kind of something that's out of our control, but we'll move forward with the fair and rodeo regardless. So, okay,
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Questions? Any other questions?
Any questions for Craig? Thank you very much. We don't have any consent agenda items tonight, but we do have some items of special interest. I've asked Councilwoman Gina Worthen to read a special proclamation that we are going to consider passing tonight. So, Gina?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a proclamation calling for a day of prayer for COVID-19 and associated difficulties that we're having in our county, in our our state and our nation, as we've talked about before, Cache has had 5 suicides, which still at this point outnumber the number of COVID deaths that we've had, and increases in abuse, loneliness. There's a lot of suffering going on and a lot of fear and worry, and we're worried about overcrowding hospitals, and we felt that we need God's help. And now would be a good time to ask him for that. So I also want to let you know that I reached out to a number of mayors in Cache County and got their support, and I will read their names at the end as well. Proclamation of a Day of Prayer. Whereas Cache County is a blessed place and its citizens a blessed people, and whereas prayer is deeply rooted in our heritage, and whereas President Ronald Reagan declared, quote, "From the earliest days of our republic, Americans have asked God to hear their prayers in times of sorrow and crisis and in times of bounty," end quote. And whereas President Abraham Lincoln, in the darkest days of the Civil War, called for a national day of prayer, humility, and fasting, and acknowledged, quote, "We have been the recipients of the choicest bounties of heaven. We have been preserved these many years in peace and prosperity, but we have forgotten God. We have forgotten the gracious hand which preserved us in peace and multiplied and enriched and strengthened us," end quote. And whereas President John F. Kennedy in 1961 encouraged Americans to, quote, "turn back at this time to the oldest source of wisdom and strength, to the words of the prophets and the saints, who tell us that faith is more powerful than doubt, that hope is more potent than despair," end quote. And he reiterated that, quote, "The guiding principle and prayer of this nation has been, is now, and ever shall be, in God we trust," end quote. Whereas the poet Alfred Lord Tennyson observed, quote, "More things are wrought by prayer than this world dreams of," end quote. And whereas our county, state, and nation face a distressing time with suffering from sickness, death, anxiety, hopelessness, loneliness, abuse, and loss, and a time of confusion, tension, division, and derision. And whereas the people of Cache County are a people of faith and goodwill, comes now the Cache County Council and calls upon the people of Cache County to join in a day of prayer on July 19th, 2020, to humbly petition Almighty God for his tender mercies, that the blessings of healing, comfort, wisdom, and deliverance be upon Cache County, the state of Utah, and the United States of America. By the County Council of Cache County, Utah, this 14th day of July, 2020. Proclamation joined by the following mayors: Craig Hidalgo, Clarkston; Sheridan Flint, Hyde Park; Kelly Field, Lewiston; Ed Buste, Mendon; Sean Dustin, Nibley; John Drew, Providence; Jeff Young, Richmond; Jeff Barnes, Smithfield. I know we're missing one, Stephanie Miller from Hiram also. Somehow she got left off. Proclamation joined by the following Logan City Council members: Jess Bradfield, Tom Jensen, and Jeannie Simmons, and also joined by Julie Hollis-Terrell, Director of the Cache Valley Visitors Bureau.
Thank you very much. And Gina had this notion come to her, and we talked about it and decided this would be a wonderful thing for us to do and a great benefit to all. And we also will be circulating this now through Cache Community Connections, who will get this word out then to all of the other faith leaders throughout the valley, and hopefully we'll have some good participation. So,
may I add?
Yes.
There are many good people in our county who are maybe believe in a higher power, but maybe not specifically in God. And I would hope that they would join with us in sending good thoughts and positive vibes our way as well, and know that we would love for them to participate with us.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to approve this proclamation?
Move to approve this proclamation. I think it's very fitting. It's really important at this time in the county and in the valley.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Are there any opposed? Okay, thank you. We will post this. Another item of special interest is our 2019 External Audit Report by Joan Simpkins. And I don't know, Cameron, or you want to, this has been some light reading that we've been able to enjoy, and it reads like a novel.
I missed the plot.
Did you?
And there's extras here if anyone would like to follow along.
Yeah.
We've got some management there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I'm Mike Kidman. I'm an audit partner at Jones Simpkins. We appreciate the opportunity to briefly go over the results of the county audit for the year ended December 31st, 2019. We have already had a discussion with the audit committee, so I'm not going to go into great detail about this, but just hit a couple of things that I think are important to note. I want to start with the opinion on page 3. I want the council to know that this is the audit opinion, and it expresses quite a bit of information, but the main thing that we want to note is that the audit, the financial statements has been are presented in accordance with GAAP, and the audit has been conducted in accordance with the required auditing standards. We have no modifications or qualifications with regards to that opinion, so we believe these financial statements are materially correct. The audit went very well. As usual, Cameron and his office are always well prepared for us. We look through a lot of information. It's a fairly disruptive process. We appreciate their cooperation and the help that they give to us. On page 15 and 16, I think the thing that's important from the government-wide perspective is to look at our net position. And even though a lot of that is in capital assets, we do have funds that are available. Some of them are restricted, some of them are unrestricted. And we also had a nice increase to our net position as of the end of the year. In the times that you've been discussing and we're all facing, having some reserves is a good thing. We don't know exactly where our revenues are going to be in times like this. We have disruption to sales tax bases and other kinds of things. I feel like the county's fiscal management and budgeting process is strong, and sometimes we think we have quite a bit in reserve, and then when we have something very unusual like we're dealing with right now, it turns out to be a very good thing to have some safety to be able to take care of the needs of our citizens and our public servants as they have to do things that they didn't do before to stay safe and do those kind of things. So I feel very good about the fund balances and the net position that the county has. The fund balances, you can see, are sitting on page 17, and you can see the general fund has a little over $8 million in unassigned fund balance. Again, I feel like that's come about over more than just a few years of conservative fiscal management, and I think that's to be commended, to stay within our budgets and have some reserves available if we need them. So I like that a lot. In terms of the other things, things happened in accordance with your budget. We don't have any major issues there. I'd like to probably just, there's lots of good information. Again, we've dealt with this in some detail with the audit committee. A couple of issues that are in the management letter we can touch on. This letter is a letter where we talk to those charged with governance. We talk about the financial statement process. We talk about what's new. We talk about the accounting practices, the estimates, and some of those kinds of things. What I want to touch on is in the other matters comment. So, not something that was directly found by our audit procedures, but we did have an event occur where there was a little bit of weakness found in our grant oversight process. And so the audit, as we do it, needs to pull together not only things that we would find, but we would want to report on from an internal control perspective or compliance perspective, anything that we become aware of where we can look to strengthen control systems or improve our ability to comply with grants and the requirements of the funds that we have oversight for. And so what our comment is about this, and there's a comment in the audit report as well, is that while part of the control structure functioned and the county was able to identify an issue and really pretty much self-report and self-correct, the occurrence nevertheless occurred. And it's not really a new issue at all in the county. We use a decentralized structure to manage grants here. We have a lot of people involved. People in the departments are very knowledgeable generally about their grants, but it requires that there be many control points to keep things going. So we talk about that and just comment that that is a never-ending process to discuss, strengthen, have communication with the departments, coordinate with Cameron's office, and see that we're doing everything that we can to have proper oversight over grant funds. And so that, I know there are things that Cameron is wanting to do with his staff to help in that process. We are supportive of that. But we did have a little incidents there where we had a few things paid out that got caught that weren't quite what we would have liked to have had happen if we could have prevented it on the front side. So that's one item that we ran into. Another minor matter that comes out of this state compliance findings is just public notice of meetings. And so that was commented on. We have one fund, the Children's Justice Center, that had a deficit position for a moment at year end. And so that needed to be budgeted for and corrected. That's probably already happened, hasn't it, Cameron? So those are the things that we had where we had some minor comments. Other than that, we didn't have any internal control findings. We didn't have any major compliance findings other than that one instance that we've already talked about. So I feel like the audit was good, successful. It was done timely. At the end, there was just a little bit of minor delay as that issue was kind of clarified and wrapped up. But overall, the timing that we were able to get through things this year was very good. So I would be happy to answer questions if there are any, but I feel like the audit was good, and I feel very good that the county has some reserve funds to use as needed for our pandemic situation.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions for Mike? We really appreciate everything you do. We do, on the audit committee, have the opportunity to go through these statements in a lot of depth, and they're very thorough, so you ought to feel comfortable that they didn't get glossed over.
Yeah, I feel very good about our audit committee process. I think the county may have, they're certainly one of the top 2 or 3 in terms of the process of talking about the audit. Lots of people interested, taking time to have good discussions on the front end and the back end. And I really appreciate the tone that the council has and the other people involved in that audit committee.
Mike, I have a question. Can you give a little more detail on number 2 about what we failed to post the public meetings to the website?
I think it was just the notices. You know, the state auditor has us look and just go with the requirement that you have to post your public meetings. They have to be done within so many days before and after. And so what we do is follow their recommendation to take a sample of those and just look at the dates and see whether they met it's a kind of a pass-fail test, whether it was done timely, or I don't remember whether it was a timing issue or a not at all issue. Cameron might remember, but it's just we look at it, and if it isn't strictly within the time limits, then we call it out because the state auditor has asked that to be done.
Yeah, my recollection was more it was a timing thing once or twice. I think we do an overall good job, but like they were saying, it's pass-fail every time. But I just want to take a minute and commend Joan Simpkins. I mean, they did a fantastic job. I've been involved in a lot of audits, a lot of different places, and it's a great working relationship. They're very thorough. I think the county, the staff, I'd like to commend them on the job that they do as well. And even in the management letter, they have those few issues were kind of self-identified and solved even before we almost had to hit them at the audit committee.
Yeah, I think we have a really good collaborative process with our audit committee and a really good tone from your finance office trying to do things right. And there's a lot of compliance to consider and do, but I think everybody's doing well, but that grant area in a decentralized environment is just something that needs to be worked on and re-emphasized on a year-over-year basis as best we can.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I'll make a motion we adopt it.
Thank you. Okay, motion's been made to adopt the financial statements. Is there a second?
Second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Our next special interest item is consideration of additional RAPS restaurant tax funding requests. And Betty, do you want to address that for us? Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. A couple of meetings ago, you guys had some concerns about a couple of the awards, the Summer Citizens and the USU Festival Opera. We did go back and we provided you a little bit of information about the awards that have not been claimed. It's not as much as we thought it would be. We are, I'm sending letters out to those to see if they still want to continue with those. But with regards to the Festival Opera, there is some money if you want to give an additional award. Also for the Summer Citizens. The Summer Citizens, we've given $10,000 last year and previous years. You do have enough money in restaurant tax available if you want to award that. On the Festival Opera, you do have some money available there if you wanted to award an additional maybe $125,000. Last year, we only awarded them $300,000 total, so I wouldn't recommend going over that, but it's whatever you guys would like to award.
Let me ask a question. I got a phone call from, and I wish I could remember his name. He heads up the Lyric Theater. Richie Call, okay. He heads up the Lyric Theater, and he said that they are not going to be needing any of the money this year, and asked that we consider awarding that to someone else who does need it. But how much was it that we had?
We awarded $5,000 to the Lyric, and we awarded that out of, let's see, That is out of the RAPS cultural money. So
Okay,
we do have enough that we could do those awards if you wanted.
okay. All right, any questions for Betty at this point?
Betty, will you just remind me of how much total that both of those, you know, the Festival Opera and the Summer Citizens were asking?
The Festival Opera was asking for a total of $450,000. We awarded $175,000 out of RAPS in the cultural area. We did not award anything out of restaurant.
And those requests were an increase from the previous year of 150?
No, last year I think that, yeah, it was a little bit of an increase because they were 150 each, so it was a total of 300,000. But this year they did request the 450,000. On the Summer Citizens, they typically ask for about 40,000, and we have been awarding about 10,000.
What's that for?
The Summer Citizens?
Yeah, is that to advertise to get them, or what's?
I believe that they go down, Julie could probably help us out with that, but they travel to areas like Arizona and try to promote Summer Citizens, elderly, well, retired people to come up here and enjoy Cache Valley.
Yeah, who's they?
Linda Nadavo is the director of the Summer Citizens Program.
And do you have an organization, a group?
It's Utah State University. We are but we're independent of the university. We're total self-support. We have no funding from any other resource. We support ourselves, and we do a recruitment trip every year. We have done so for over 40 years, and we go to retirement communities, very large retirement communities, and bring the community with us. Julie, Michael, the Lyric, and apartment complexes. And we do presentations in all of these different retirement communities, as well as advertising, to bring the population to Logan for the summer.
So they can spend all their money here.
So they can spend their money here.
And I'm sorry. Did you go down this year?
Yes, we did. We did 12 presentations in 5 days. That was in January.
January, okay.
Okay.
Betty, I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't remember the numbers, but I remember we were trying to hold some back for next year. Is that right? So if
Yes.
the number that you gave us that we could give some, what does that bring our total left for next year down to?
What we have left for next year is 483,000 total. But we do have to be careful of the categories that we take it out of.
Right?
So in the RAPS funding, we have 308,000 remaining that we could award. In the restaurant, a couple people have pulled out, and so we are at 79,293.
Yeah, 'cause
That's
last
still available. It was down to 37.
35,000.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you.
Okay. You know, we have, I think, a lot of people here who want to present some data for us to help us decide on some of these things. I noted with interest, I was reading through the Economic Development Strategic Plan that was included in our packet for tonight, and I noticed in 2 or 3 places in there, they talk about one of the strengths of our valley is our community arts and recreation platforms that we have here, are the venues that we have, and that they're critical to our economic development. I guess what I'd like to do, and I think it's important that we hear some hard data about the impact of these venues. And I think I'd like to start with, if it's okay, start with our Summer Citizens people. Have you tell us a little bit about what economic impact the Summer Citizens have on our valley and on our county specifically. So if you wouldn't mind coming to the microphone so that everybody can hear you.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. We have not conducted a formal economic impact study since 2008, but in 2008, we did a very extensive, and it was conducted by Craig Peterson, who at that time was an economics professor at USU. And at that time, we had 217 people respond to the survey that was sent out, and it was a very extensive survey. But the economic part of that survey resulted in, from those 217 people, that it brought in $1,342,596. Now, that is in food service. Food service was $126,000. Groceries and packaged goods was $194,000. Lodging and utilities was $338,000. Entertainment was $120,000. Shopping, retail, gifts, souvenirs, $102,000. Personal expenses, $32,300. Auto expenses, $71,900. Medical expenses, $133,213, and other expenses, $223,489, to total the $1,342,000. I have done some independent research in previous or forwarding years. In 2016, Logan Regional Hospital brought in $579,000 from the summer citizens, and that is collected by zip codes. So I provide zip codes from the participants, and they run the data for us. The performing arts, we have some data from them that was in the $300,000 range. So as the years have gone forward since 2008, our numbers of summer citizens have increased dramatically. The program has grown. This past year, 2019, we had 835 people here in Cache Valley. So you can see, with 217 people in 2008 with that much income, well over $1 million, almost $1.5 million, that's only 217 people. With 835 people, and with inflation, that number is bound to be more than triple of what the economic impact study of 2008 represented. So we have a few summer citizens that did not cancel. They're here in Logan. I spoke to one this afternoon. It's Millennial Towers apartment complexes. I asked, well, how many apartments do you have rented this summer? There are only 16. In past years, there have been as many as 96 apartments in that complex occupied. I said, well, how are they doing? She said, well, we've had 2 hip replacements. One gentleman has had both hips replaced since he has been here. Another one is having knee surgery. Another one saved all his dental work to come and have it done here in Cache Valley. We have a very good sponsor in Dr. Workman who takes care of all their dental needs. And so I know that, and she went on to say how grateful we should be living here in Cache Valley, because we can call a doctor or we can go to the hospital and we can have treatment done within a week or 2 weeks at tops. And in where they come from in Arizona, it's months out. So they save these procedures and these treatments to have them done here in Cache Valley, and because of the quality of service. The doctors are kind and caring. And that is true of the entirety of our community. It's not just in the medical industry. And that is what brings them here every year. And they do spend a tremendous amount of money. Just in apartment complexes alone, we're well over $1.5 million with the number of apartment complexes that we have rentable to summer citizens. And so the economic impact, we do need to do a new study because I think it would shock us of how much money is actually being spent today. Is there any questions other than that I can help you understand about the program?
Yes.
Yes.
Do these apartments then turn to, is there a daily rate they're paying, or do they pay a transient room tax? Is there...
No, because they're staying more than the length of time that a transient room tax requirement. They're over that requirement. So no, but they are paying sales tax.
We do have some of them that come and stay in hotels because the
We
university
do.
has hotel packages
I do.
available, so they do pay the transient room tax.
Correct, and I did send that information. Thank you, Julie. We had 27 lodging packages at the University Inn in 2019, and the approximate transient tax on that was $2,012, and that's just the University Inn. They do come and stay in other hotels here in the community. Unfortunately, I do not have hard data that I can share with you about those other properties. Perhaps they collect information on zip codes. If I provided them zip codes, I might be able to gather that information for you. But I don't know where they're residing.
Okay.
I only know the University Inn because they're a sponsor of the program. And I collect that information from anyone that registers for the program.
Great. Thank you, Linda.
You're very welcome. Any questions from anyone else? Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. We also have representatives here from the Utah Festival Opera and Music Company, and they are an integral part of the draw of our summer citizens and of what happens in our community economically during the summer particularly. So I think, Annette, you wanted to say something, or was there somebody else that... Or Jamie, were you going to?
Let them speak.
Okay.
I'm just here to support them.
Okay.
Why don't I start?
And the summer citizens.
All right.
Mike, where are you? He's left. I know why you have a surplus. You certainly aren't extravagant on air conditioning. We appreciate that. As anyone who knows me who is present will know that I have never read a speech or a statement in my life. But I feel I should tonight because what I'm about to say may be one of the most important things I've said to the council, and I want to make sure it's very clear. First of all, I want to thank you for the many years of support you have given us. We are here to assure you that we are aggressively pursuing any possible funding sources, including many of which we have not reached out to in the past. If we receive from the county our original request, in combination with the receipt of pledges that have been made to us prior to the pandemic, we are optimistic that we will be able to move forward. You are aware that the cancellation of this festival season will negatively impact the economy upwards of over $30 million this summer. The question remains as to how much of an investment justifies that return. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions for Michael? Okay. Jamie or Julie or anyone else?
I just wanted to, could you come to the...
Come to the microphone, yeah. We get you recorded this way.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I want to thank all of you. I've had the opportunity of talking with you individually, and some of you I kind of knew, some of you I didn't know at all, but I've appreciated that I've had that chance to talk with you and answer questions that you had about the festival. And I think they were positive, and I hope that you learned more about us, and I certainly learned more about you. I did give you some information. It just gives you some details about what Michael talked about with aggressively pursuing funding. And it also supports what Linda had to say about the economic impact that these citizens who come to see the opera have on this economy. And really, that's all that I have to say to you again, except I surely want to see 2021 come alive.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, Jamie.
I just have one comment, so Jamie Andrus, Cache Valley Chamber of Commerce. We just wanted to say, I wanted to point out that when we talked last time about money being kept in reserve, if we don't have the Festival Opera Company and performances next year, again, that is going to deplete that restaurant tax even more. So by using the money to market for these two events to bring people next year, that marketing is critical to say, we're open, we're going to do it, please come and spend your money. And then one thing about the summer citizens is many of them say that they never eat or prepare a meal in their own apartment the whole time they're here. So you think of how many meals they eat out in our restaurants for the entire summer. Now, of course, that's not everybody, but many, many, many of them eat in a restaurant every single day or many times a week. So think of those 800 people eating in our restaurants. Think of all the people that visit the opera who eat in our restaurants. Last year, I sat next to a group of women who were at Lenone, and they were sitting so close, of course, I could hear what they were saying, and they said, oh, every year we come, we just don't have anywhere to eat in I think they came from Pocatello, and they said, we just don't have a restaurant like this, and we always come, and we see a couple of the operas, and we eat in these great restaurants, and we love coming here, and they stay in the hotel. So this is just a group of people coming just from across the border, but we bring a lot of people here. So in thinking about next year and what is going to be available for RAPS tax money is, this is an ongoing thing. So these marketing dollars to bring people into our valley for next summer are critical.
Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate the reinforcement of your view on the economic impact of these organizations. In the original letter that I sent to you, I told you that I've never weighed in officially as the director of the Visitors Bureau on any of the recommendations for the RAPS and restaurant tax. But this year, with the anomaly of the COVID virus and just looking forward, it's very critical for us to be able to support both the Summer Citizens Program and Utah Festival as much as possible so that we can maintain those organizations for next year. Because if you are to ask the hoteliers, Utah Festival is the largest draw for hotel rooms as far as an event, and it's because it lasts 4 weeks. They have a longer amount of time than just individual events. But it's the largest event that brings the most people here, and we know that the people who are in that audience are higher income, higher education, and they spend a lot of money while they're here. So the money that I was hoping for that would be reinstated or awarded, I guess, is particularly for their marketing funds. The Utah Office of Tourism has just let us know that they've never done this before, but they will be allowing our advertising, and I mean our as in the Visitors Bureau and nonprofit organizations who have been awarded funds, including Utah Festival, to advertise in the state, to bring audiences from in the state. In the past, the legislature has required those funds to be spent only out of area. And this is a very important change for us. And so when Utah Festival wasn't awarded anything for marketing, that's crippling because it's not for this season. You might have looked at that and thought, oh, it's for this season, which was canceled, they don't need it. That money is for next year that they have requested, and it's imperative that they be able to get some of that funding in some way. In addition, as you know, I kind of think of the Summer Citizens Program as the golden goose of our community, because they are inclined, I mean, they want a coupon for everything, don't get me wrong, but once they use the coupon, they spend an awful lot of money here buying, as she mentioned, buying new cars, doing dental work. And Jesse, my husband, is a hairdresser, and they love him. Do you have any asides that you could just kick out there, but maybe anything that you've heard? Is it okay if I ask him just this?
I'm a hairdresser in the community, and I've been doing hair for 9 years. I have summer citizens that book a year in advance to come and see me. I talk for hours in the chair with them. Talk about, oh, we're going out in groups to eat here tonight. We're going there tonight. And I'm just a bystander citizen of this community, but they always have their opera tickets. That's the first thing I hear out their mouths. They always tell me what restaurants should we try out, where should we go. Very few of them actually cook in their apartments because they're such social butterflies. They like to go out in their groups. It's like a big vacation for them here. And they are spending that asset of money in the community. And I witness it as it comes into my hands. I witness it as I see them in the restaurants eating. Julie and I are very active in this community. We see it, we witness it. We're stopped every day by them saying how grateful they are to have this valley to come and visit to. And so these organizations are, from a citizen's point of view, just a standby, are critical and important to the valley.
Thanks, Jesse. Isn't he cute? I know. Anyway, regarding the Summer Citizens, let me just say as well, in the past, Betty mentioned they've been funded at, I believe you said $10,000 about. Their request this year was for 30, I'm sorry about that. But the amount of money that it costs just to do that recruitment trip, whereas other organizations do a lot of other types of advertising, this has to be done in person. Those people respond to in-person relationships. And so when we go on that breakneck, horrific tour that everyone wants to think is a vacation, and we do 12 presentations in 5 days from one end of the state to the other, so we're just like, the first stop when they make up here is coming to this office before they even check in at the program, so they can find out all the things that are happening, so they can buy their tickets right away. So I don't really get to say anything except for that I would recommend, if there's any way possible that you can provide that $30,000, especially this year, because again, those funds will be going for next year's recruitment trips, the expenses of reserving the places where the presentations are made, and travel and all of that. Advertising, printing, all those kinds of things are included, but really, this targets a group of people who spend an awful lot of money here in Cache Valley. So thank you for being willing to review these over again and to have a look at them and maybe learn a little bit more about the economic impact that both of these organizations have on our valley.
Thank you. Any questions of these folks from any of the council members?
Yes, the marketing funds you mentioned, Julie.
Yes.
That was the new application.
I think we've always requested marketing.
Wasn't that the new one?
No, you're thinking about the Utah Theater.
Yeah. Okay, Utah Theater was the new one. Okay.
Oh, and it was for marketing, some of that money was for marketing the Utah Theater, so that's probably what you're thinking of.
And then I guess my other question also was for Julie can any more come out of your budget to possibly help this too during this time?
Possibly, I don't know in what way you would want that to come,
whatever way you can.
Well, do you so would it be to support marketing efforts? Would it be just like a donation, a sponsorship? We certainly could look at that, because there's a lot of money that I have for marketing set aside that I haven't been able to spend this year, that I could take some apart to do that. I think the most appropriate funds would be the restaurant and wraps funds, of course. But if there's something that needs to be done that I can contribute, I feel that strongly about these organizations that I would set some aside to do that if it was necessary.
How many days do they stay?
They arrive mid-May and they depart mid-August. As soon as the students leave the apartment complexes, that's if they're here for the full summer.
3 months almost.
3 months. It's a 3-month lease. Apartment or hotels do packages.
That's still pretty cheap. I figure that's about $7,500 a person.
Yeah.
For 3 months. That's only $2,000 a month. You know, that's pretty cheap if you're.
So John, as soon as you retire, you can become a summer citizen.
Well, no, I mean, you talk about all the money, that's.
She'll be a winter citizen. Now, I had one more question was that, we asked this several times, Carl, you know, we didn't have you people here to answer this question, but, what activities were you even able, you kept talking about some educational things that were happening this year, or did or did not, or?
Oh, the ongoing things,
Yeah.
what the festival does.
What's actually happening this year?
Would you like me to address that?
Would you please?
Because, you know, we asked that 2 or 3 times, and we couldn't quite get an answer. Carl, you did good, but,
I didn't
we
have the
know one
full
of questions
story.
we'd asked
Yeah.
sometimes.
Our educational programs have been going forward, the summer educational programs. They're different. They're virtual now, but our Broadway-bound summer camp is going forward. We will have a performance, God willing, an out-of-doors performance where the actors will wear masks. It's appropriate for the work we're putting on, which is the Pirates of Penzance, so masking them is very good for that. We have spent this time communicating with all of our educators, of which I look today, we have about 33,000 students and about 2,000 educators with whom we interface every year. We have continued to do that all summer. We have a staff of 12 educators that work for us year-round, salaried, and they have been mentoring the teachers and the students, this time not face-to-face, but virtually. So our educational programs have been going forward as they have any year before. But like everyone else, we are utilizing technology instead of face-to-face. And that is all funded through the state of Utah. $500,000.
Did that answer your question okay? A lot better than I could have done.
It was just kind of,
Yeah.
no one knew.
Yep.
That's what we were wondering, if there were still some things that were happening.
That is correct.
And we knew that there were, or something, we just was curious as to what they were. And
And
so,
all of our permanent staff of 25 are working. They're salaried by the year, and we are keeping them.
And that's all paid for through the state of Utah?
Until August 14th.
Not the staff, that's paid by
So-
us.
You're talking about the education program?
Right.
Yes, we match what the state gives us.
And that's for a 3-month summer program?
No, that's year-round, but we are still functioning year-round. We're still interfacing with the teachers that we go into the classrooms with. In fact, more so than we have in the past.
Michael, does that educational program go outside the state of Utah, or is it kept in Utah?
Principally in the state of Utah. It does go outside, but we don't utilize state resources to go into Nevada. We used to have a great many programs in San Bernardino, California, also in Arizona, Wyoming, Kentucky, Missouri, even one in Italy, a satellite. But that is all private money that does not come from the state of Utah.
Okay.
Principally now, we're in the state of Utah exclusively.
Okay, other questions? I think Betty, one clarification then, at least, you and I talked on the phone a little bit. The original request for summer citizens was 30,000, and we awarded
10.
10.
that was consistent with the previous year, though, too.
Previous year, this year we didn't award anything.
This year, nothing, okay. But when you and I talked, we thought 10 we could,
We could do 10. I mean, you have the funding to do 10.
yeah. And then for the Utah Festival Opera and Music Company, we had awarded 175, and you and I talked that we would have the funding for another 125.
Yes, we do. We have that available.
Okay, do we have any,
Also match for next, like we had the previous year, right?
Yep, that would be in line with last year, yes.
do we have other funds available? I mean, I think one of the things I'm thinking about is, and bear me out with my thoughts, but, and I've mentioned this before, but what we have in this valley is unique. because the people come here specifically for the opera because it's professional. This isn't a community theater. And my wife and I have been to operas in London and in New York and in Vienna, Austria, and they aren't any better than what we get here, and people know that. And so this is a professional company. It's not a community theater type thing, and as a consequence, it draws people to our community and to our valley. And then the training that we're able to give, or they're able to give, is on a professional level as well. It's not, again, it's not just amateur type stuff. So it would be a huge detriment and hit to our valley economically if they weren't able to continue. And so I'm thinking anything more that we can do would be important because of the loss of revenues for a year gone by without any kind of show and without any revenues from those shows, and so they need to survive.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add a comment. I had a good conversation with Annette about a week and a half ago, and I was impressed because you've been in this position, what, a year, did you say? A little over a year. And she's been really researching ways to apply for grants for this. And she is looking at grants. She's not saying that she's getting them, but she's definitely looking at them. And didn't you say the total would be like $300,000? So I think that where she's really looking into these things and really searching out these areas that haven't been searched out before, if she can continue with that and keep going with that, I think there's a lot of opportunity there for them to receive the money. But in order to do that, they need to have the season for next year.
Yes, they do. It's imperative, I think.
Do we know if they would qualify for any of the CARES funding that the county is going to get?
In that synopsis that I sent you, I explained.
I didn't get that, I'm sorry.
Oh, well.
I'm kind of in the dark here.
We have received all the funding that we're going to get through the first round of CARES funding. The second round of CARES, we don't have a budget of over $5 million, so we can apply for it.
Close, almost.
Almost, but not there. It's not horseshoes, so it doesn't count. But there are some opportunities that are opening up in August. We'll be getting the grant notifications then, and you bet I'll apply for that money.
The county itself, Annette, has different funds that the county has received that are CARES funding that are different than probably what you've been aware of. And I think that's what she was asking about.
Cameron, do you know anything on that? Can you answer that question?
Very briefly, I know about 3.5 minutes worth of research. In all the guidance we have on the CARES Act, it's never mentioned an arts organization. But what I do see is the National Endowment for the Arts was approved for CARES Act funding, which they're then distributing out to many arts organizations. In the guidance we do have, just generically calling this a nonprofit organization serving the community, I do think that they would qualify for some of those funds. So a little more research probably is warranted, but I do think that's a potential source of funding for additional money to provide to the Festival Opera Company.
We're at the point right now where we're still finalizing our application for that.
Yes, so in fact, tomorrow we have a meeting to hopefully finalize that application, and we'll start distributing that out to entities that we know have need for it.
Okay. Is that something then that we can have them apply through the county for?
Yeah, I believe it is. I believe it is. So.
Okay.
All right. Any, like I said, 3.5 minutes, but any other questions on that?
Yeah, not bad.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Council, any other questions, comments, concerns?
Other question I had was for the summer citizens, whereas we've given them 10 before, they're asking for 30. I wondered what the difference in the 20,000 was for, and maybe where you've gotten that money before.
So, thank you for asking, Gina. We have typically received 30,000. We've typically received what had been applied for in the past. Well, we have applied for more, but we typically have been awarded the 30,000. And then in 2018, it dropped to 20,000. And then for 2019, it dropped to 10,000. And then for 2020, it has been recommended a 0 award. And that money is used for the recruitment. And I do provide all the documentation, receipts, and so what have you that support the expenses for that.
All 30,000 is used for recruitment?
Yes, and then some.
Okay.
Then Linda, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Barbara.
Just to reiterate, the USU itself does not give you any funds.
Not a dime.
But they benefit.
They benefit, yes.
Yeah.
For services they provide. But we're self-support, totally self-support. And we do bring in outside sponsors, our apartment complexes are advertising sponsors, and you'll see them featured in the book that you were just handed. So we do get some revenue from sponsorships. And the opera has been a longtime partner. They are a sponsor of the program and travel with us, as well as the Utah, the Lyric, which is a USU organization.
Do you, sorry, John. I know it's important for, face-to-face visits.
Yes, ma'am.
Because that generation would rather deal face-to-face. I do realize that. I'm saying maybe
Glad you
I'm in
said
that
that
generation too.
It's-
Maybe I'm
it's
in
them,
that
not us.
generation. But have you ever tried any media or anything like that? And if so, how has that gone over, or has it not, or whatever?
Thank you for asking that as well. We did our first attempt at virtual courses this summer because we did have, through USU's decision, we had to cancel the program and the offerings that we were going to provide to those people, and thus they canceled their reservations. But, so, in an alternative, after refunding all their money, we said, okay, let's try a virtual course. We had 14 instructors that agreed that they would present their materials through an online platform, and it failed.
Yeah.
We had 4 people in one class, 2 people in another class, and
courses were
0.
these?
Sorry, say
What
again.
courses were these? For these
A little bit of
summer
everything
citizens?
we had, for summer citizens, yes. So they could get on their computers at home and log in and have instruction just like they would have in a classroom without traveling.
That would be tough.
We
Well,
had the same thing happen. We offer an education program as well, and it failed. I want you to know that when we do go down with the summer citizen, it's on our own dime. So what they're requesting is just for them. They're not double dipping for us. We pay for that on our own.
they do, so do we, the Visitors Bureau. Yes. This covers our advertising, our meeting room costs, our travel costs, and that, for 2 staff members.
But you also advertise digitally too.
Yes.
People, they send them emails, I mean, there's a
Oh, yes.
website,
Yes.
there's a lot of technology.
Right.
behind
There
it.
is a lot of technology.
They're not just doing that one trip.
Okay.
And it isn't what they're used to.
But
It isn't what they want, and it just isn't. They're categorized as the victims also in this whole thing, because they're just also not able, in the prime years.
We only get Social Security and we can't get any Medicare treatment. I know, yeah.
They're expecting a higher quality of life, and right now they're just flat out not giving it. I understand that.
An ambassador program as well. So at each of those meetings, we try to invite some of the ambassadors who help us sell the program. And so getting them together and hearing from each other and others that have been here is really powerful.
Yeah.
A first-hand account always sells better than a second-hand account. And so those ambassadors live the program and really do a lot to help us promote. And they're volunteer.
Does Do either of you get funding from Logan City?
No.
No.
In our 28 years, Logan City has given us $80,000.
And I,
28 years.
and I did approach Mayor Peterson at that time,
Yeah.
after he had retired from USU, and he did the economic impact, but we did meet with him. They just didn't have anything in their budget that they could award to us. It hadn't been planned for.
I wanted to address your question about classes. You seemed confused by that. That's one of the major components of the program. Is Linda and her team put together educational classes? How many?
We had over 60 classes. They're featured in that book, which is another big component of the program. These are highly educated professionals in many cases, and they love that atmosphere of a university.
And we add another 90 to that. So it's an educational environment.
I know that I worked with a gentleman last year who was here, and he was very excited because he got to teach some of those classes, and that's, you know, he was from England, and so he did a lot of English history, and he was always excited. He'd tell me, I get to teach, you know, and he'd invite me, but I never got to go, but yeah, I know they enjoy that a lot.
It's as much the social interaction as it is anything else.
And they register for those and pay for
They do,
those?
and that funds the instructors, so we pay the instructors off of that registration money, and then a little bit comes back to the program for administration, and that's how we fund ourselves, for administrative costs. So we get a little bit.
Just keep it all.
Well, the instructors would frown on
Tell
it.
USU, this is also an investment. We understand.
I
Thank
think
you.
If I'm looking at it, pardon the clumsy analogy, but just pick on, you know, the Cache Valley Mall, and we're a commercial property owner here essentially. As a government, we're looking at managing the county. And if you don't have your anchor tenant, you really don't have anything. And the Utah Festival Opera, I think, is our anchor tenant. Maybe the Summer Citizens is the great marketing company that you hire as a mall to kind of drive the traffic into that mall. And they're getting driven there because you've got a good anchor tenant. You miss that anchor tenant, the rest of that mall is going to die out pretty quick.
And I disagree with you.
Well,
I think they are a great ad. I really do. Every year I've heard this since I've been here, they're going to go defunct. Thanks to that lovely lady in the black dress. I have softened some, but I think the major thing are the citizens of Cache Valley. And so if you talk about we're going to do this to bring people in, to do that, we're going to take money away from some other project somewhere else. Luckily, Betty explained we don't have to do that as much as we were. But the people in Cache Valley also, you know, 7,000, they eat out every week. Like I said last time, there's nothing to do in Cache Valley but eat out or go to the show. And so they do all those same things that these people coming here do. And so if you're saying, well, I'm going to rob some people out there, for instance, every recreational facility in any small community is paid for by RAPS money. I don't care whether it's Trenton, Paradise, Hiram, Wellsville, I don't care where it is. That ball diamond, those fields, that pavilion was paid for with RAPS tax, and those people working to get it built. They did in kind, they worked. I agree you need money, but not at the expense of something else. I think it was great. I think we got to provide for you to advertise and things like that. But, and I think 10,000 is great, but I don't think 300,000 is, because something else is going to suffer, and I do not think that is fair.
But the money those people bring in taxes helps refund.
Sales tax. These other people pay property tax here. They live here. They pay for the roads. They do all the things that these other people enjoy at sales tax cost. 50% stays in Logan, the rest gets distributed around. As far as buying cars, they didn't spend enough on cars. I think it was $32,000 or something you said that year, so they bought 2 cars. I mean,
2008.
yeah, I still would have only bought 2 cars. You know, the hospital, they come here because it's cheaper and it's better service. I see where you're coming from, and it is a great thing, but I don't think it is the greatest thing in the valley. They come for recreation and that. I think it's a great asset, but I do not think it is the savior of the valley.
This is a tough call. Why I say it's a tough call is in some ways we're investing, almost a gamble, whether we will have a season next year or not. I want to say yes, we will.
So do I.
Let's be positive, because there's so blasted much negativity out there anyway, and we flat out, that isn't who we are. And that's what's really bothering me. We are not that. We're not negative people. This valley is a very positive people. We need to even bolster it more. But it's hard to sometimes throw money, I don't say throw or but invest it or whatever, in something that you're not sure of. I know on the committee, we talked about this extensively, and we even sent out, a second letters out there saying, are your events going to occur? What's going to happen? Are there changes? And some we got responses back positive, some we got response back saying, hey, it's not going to happen. Some are saying, well, yeah, we still have to keep working towards something and try and keep some things alive. And like, for example, pay people that are on staff, keep them going. We understand a lot of that, but it's just sometimes real tough to invest in something that you're just not sure about. We can go down and we can market a lot, and then all of a sudden we're still inhibited by something. But being positive, I still think it's something that I guess that we got to keep trying. And we got to just keep trying somehow to just, I'm going to swear here, so hang on. I'm going to hold my tongue on that one.
If it's biblical, go for it.
I've got to back off on a couple of those thoughts, because I'm pretty mad on some other things. But my thoughts is still that as far as investing as much as what they're asking, I would move that we would at least finance the summer citizens 5 from the Lyric that we had, that they're saying that they do not need now, right? And then maintain them, I guess, to the 10,000 that we had last year, give them the 15, which would be, I guess, a bump up and a bump down kind of from previous years. And then I'm going to throw out the number for the Festival Opera. I will push them a little bit, but I hope that everyone knows that if something doesn't happen, next year will really hurt. And we may not have anything, but then again, we may not have a Festival of the Opera if we don't try, possibly. I have never been to an opera.
We didn't hear what you said, I'm sorry. The sound system, it's hard to tell what you said.
Oh, I says, I have never been to an opera.
Well, we can fix that.
No, I'm sure you can. But I know the people that have, and I've just never had a desire to go. But I have actually thought, it might be a good thing to go.
They're
My
wonderful.
biggest problem is when I sit down for a very long time, I'm out. I've been to 4 movies of, the guy that wears the little beady glasses and has a wand. What is that? Harry Potter. I've been to 4 of those, and I've never seen one of them. But my kids loved them because I was asleep.
I thought that is what church was for.
Well, yeah,
close second.
Anyway, but with that in mind, my motion is that we would fund the Summer Citizens 5 from the Lyric, maintain their last year's allotment of 10, so that would be a 15, and the Utah Festival Opera, that we increase that 125 or the 175 to 100,000 to 275.
So you give them 100,000 additional?
What about, we have 125 available, why not just use that and bring it to what they were last year?
Some reserve, we just holding something over for some other things that may.
But there may not be a next year. We can hold off on building.
That's my motion. Now, you guys can amend it any day you want, if we get a second or not.
I'll second with the question. Didn't you say we have 75 in that one fund that we can use for advertising?
Yes.
So,
You're gonna take 15 of that
huh?
You're gonna use 15 if you take his recommendation.
Out of the
Well,
restaurant fund?
was the lyric, was theirs 5 of that? Was theirs for promotion or was that just for general?
It's in the cultural, but if you wanna give it to the summer citizens, they applied for restaurant tax, so we'd have to take 15 out of that 75, 76.
So that'd leave us 60 and then we could take 40 out of reserves, right?
50 in restaurant, and you still have some in reserve in the wrap.
We'd have to take 50 out of the wraps. Reserves. 50 out of the reserves and 50 out of the promotion. So the 50 has to be used for promotion, theirs has to be used for promotion, and that's what they wanted. Correct?
You could.
And is
Well,
that
the
all
other
right
thing-
with you if that's where that comes from?
That takes us, that'd be at 275.
The other thing that we could do, and we haven't mentioned it in this discussion, but Julie said that she had some money that she's, of course, has got plans for to use somewhere else, but it was for advertising, and maybe we could just direct 15,000 of that to make up for the other that.
Well, I think we could ask, but we can't direct.
No, that's up to Julie.
I want to make a comment here. It was quite interesting. I've been on the council longer than Dave, and we had the same comment, that, at least I had the same comment, that I'd never been to an opera. And at that time, they were giving the council members 2 tickets to one of the shows. And so I took the opportunity to go, and I enjoyed it. But it was like a year or so later that the Herald Journal got all wound up about them giving us
More than $50.
$50, and so that went away, and so they haven't been able to do that, but they've been very generous, if they could, to let you go to an opera and let you enjoy it. I made the comment that the only thing that I remember that I had viewed of an opera was a large, everybody said I said fat, but I said a large lady singing in a high voice in a foreign language, and that hit the paper just about as bad as my COVID.
You gotta be careful.
And they had more fun on that than you can ever imagine.
You need a publicist, don't you?
Yes. But anyway, I support the opera. I always have. I don't always agree with how much money they want from us, but it's part of the county culture, it's part of our area culture, and we need to support it, and we need to do what we need to in order to make that it's here next time. And you're very right, Dave and John and the rest of you, but we don't want to lose this gem, and we're just cross our fingers that they'll be able to put it together. And that promised me on the phone when I was on the tractor that she was gonna generate all this money that she would have for us next year. And so I said, I'll hold you for it. And so we've got a thing going, haven't we?
I'd really like to see us give them 125.
Well,
I think they are a gem. I think it would be a tragedy to lose the opera. I love going, and I don't even like opera, but I like to go. And I think that they are just, what other community of this size has something like this? I mean, they really are a rare gem. They really are, and I don't want to lose them. And I think we need to try to make an investment this year to make sure we do have a season next year. So,
Question on the motion, then you can defeat it and do what you want. But there's one up and a second already.
You can amend it if you'd like. That's the thing. I want to get started with something.
I will make a motion to amend that we change from 100,000 to 125,000 for the opera.
Can I speak before you vote on that motion? I apologize, I had to step out and talk to the sheriff, so I missed a lot of your discussion. And as our finance director was leaving, he informed me that you had been discussing about the CARES Act funding and the possibility of using CARES Act funding to help support the opera, Utah Festival Opera Music Theater, because that is a business. They are a business. And he said that he feels like, and he's the person that I've kind of tasked with here in the county with following all of the requirements. We are in the process of putting together an application for funding for businesses and entities that are seeking that funding, and that will be approved likely tomorrow. But I would like to just say that I think that you should look to the CARES Act funding as the first opportunity for funding, and if that doesn't come through, then we could come back and use this funding from the wraps and restaurant tax as the fallback funding for the Festival Opera. And so that would be my recommendation. The county has already received $3.9 million of CARES Act funding. We will see, or we are seeing applications for that, but by the end of the year we should have as much as $11 million to meet the needs of businesses and the county's additional costs that we have due to the COVID virus. I don't anticipate we will spend all of that. I hope that we can send some of that back to help pay down the national debt that we're seeing expand. But I think that is a possibility. I'll just throw that out for the council to discuss, and I'll be willing to work with the applicants if they need some help there, and to see if we can qualify for that. So, thank you.
Hey, Craig, what was the time frame between the first CARES Act application and the funding versus what do you think the time frame will be for this next application? Cameron made it sound like they're going to finalize it tomorrow.
Well, that'll be the application. I mean, we haven't even, this is a county application that we're putting together. So, yeah, this is not federal. This is different. It's not the PPE funds or anything like that. This is a different pot of money. And so the county actually has a lot more oversight, and the way that the CARES Act is written, the executive officer of the county has the ability to determine what qualifies and what doesn't. So it's yet to decide how I involve the council in approving or not approving these funds. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So, okay. Thanks. Any other questions? I want to apologize again for stepping out and not being part of that discussion.
Craig, do we know if they've already gotten CARES funding from another CARES funding pot, if we can still give money to the same
Well, I believe that will be a part of our application process to ask if they have received CARES Act funding for this need from any other organization. I know Logan City and all of the other cities in the county are also getting funding, so there's money available there, but that would be one thing that I would definitely make sure that we have the answer to before we don't want to double fund anyone. So, okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
If your applications are ready tomorrow, what's your estimated time frame for deciding awards and then awarding them?
It could be a pretty quick turnaround, most likely. If the project obviously qualifies, I think we could probably plan on, say, a 2-week turnaround. It would be quite short. So that's not something that we've actually set the requirement for on that application yet.
So Craig, just for clarification then, we're looking, it's been discussed 100, 125. Is that how much you're willing to take from that CARES fund to give, or is it partial, or how much are you looking at to give if they qualify?
Yeah. I guess that would determine what their application looked like. Okay. And I think if the council wanted to save that money for a future year, then we could say, okay, $125,000. We would look at, making an application for that amount.
Okay.
So It's difficult for me to be in this position because in a lot of ways, I don't feel like we're doing this right as a country by taking on this $3 trillion debt. We're saddling our children and grandchildren with it. But this comes right down to the fact that it can be helpful to keep some people working, to keep some economies functioning. And so I see that there is a need, but I don't want to pass out money like a drunk sailor just got off the ship. So
You're gonna get a lot of phone calls.
yeah, probably will, and we've gotten a few already. Yeah. So I'll be quiet and sit down, but I just want you to know that that is a possibility that you can take a look at. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, Craig.
With that information, I would almost like to withdraw my motion.
I'll withdraw mine as well.
For, if there's a way that we could just accept for the one portion of the summer citizens, let's work with the Festival of Opera, let's work with the.
Yeah, let's use the $75,000
And
that's for advertising. Is that?
To fund the summer citizens.
To fund the summer citizens plus 50 for them to advertise and get going on it. I don't mind that part of it myself.
I just want to say, because I'm aware of the cycle of the way that the advertising has to be done at Utah Festival and for these other events that happen a year in advance, they're going to need funds by September in order to start because the publications that they use begin then. So if you could even do a portion maybe from the funds like you were suggesting, and then they could apply for the remainder, but because they're going to need that money sooner than later, and I don't know how long that carousel
Yeah, that's what you
process
said last. Yeah.
Okay.
They had me talk to him to that.
So what are we gonna do with the motion in a second?
I'll make a motion that we
Well, we either gotta.
he withdrew it.
And we have an amendment.
And
Withdraw it?
I withdrew my amendment. He
Okay.
withdrew his.
So we're clear.
If you want, we can
Now
either.
we're ready for
Kill
the
kill those,
Canvass
start
motion.
ground zero.
Step into
I'll just make a motion that we use the money, and I don't know how it was, what they described it as, but it was for advertisement, whatever fund that was, and 5 from, and 10 for the senior citizens, and that left whatever there was for the Festival of Opera, of that fund. Yeah. Well, it's 60 and 15,
Okay. Is that
and
right?
that's 75.
That's 75.
You just clicked off, Sharon, so whatever we say
And
now.
with that motion, right, that gives the opera the opportunity to come in on the CARES Act to make up the difference between that 60 that we're doing today
Well, ours is,
and the 125.
ours is, it's limited, they can only be used for that, what we said, so.
Okay, but, so first of all, then with the acceptance of the maker of the amendment and the second, I move to withdraw my motion. Okay, and then we'll open it up for John's motion, and then we can work with the festival down the road and keep them going, and working with Craig and some others, and see if we can get some better.
So you're saying your motion to withdraw has to be voted on?
Yes. So we need to now vote, everybody vote on whether to withdraw my motion, and then we start off with John.
I think you can just withdraw
I think
your
you can just
motion.
withdraw it.
I don't think you need to
I
vote
don't
on it.
think we need to vote on it.
It does if it's been seconded, right?
I
But
don't
it
think
wasn't,
so.
As soon as it's seconded, then.
I don't think it
everybody's
was
motion.
seconded.
Well, let's call for a
I know
vote and
we've always
proceed
just
either way.
withdrawn it.
Yeah.
Well, I do know that Dave is a parliamentary.
Yes,
Yeah,
they teach that.
Skyview High School thing, and he's probably right. It doesn't make any difference if he withdrawed it. Let's go ahead and vote on that we are gonna allow him to withdraw.
Second to his motion to withdraw.
I will second that if we don't have.
All right, all in favor of withdrawing the motion? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. A new motion's been made by John.
I need clarification on that, just so I know what else
Okay,
going
my
on.
motion is we have in our funds raps or otherwise. 75, it was 35, some got turned back, not gonna get used. It's 75,000 now, of which can be used for advertising. So, my motion is to give 15,000 of that to recruit senior citizens and 60,000 for the festival to recruit or get working on their pamphlets for next year's performances.
I'll second that.
Okay. I think that's a good motion, John.
Okay, and I,
And this is added on to what's already been approved.
yeah,
Yeah.
The festival's initial.
That we approved previously.
right. And I think still leaves 125 available if the CARES thing doesn't
Well, we'll
come
have to
through.
vote on that.
Well, yeah, we'd have to vote on it.
Have to be approved, but
Yeah.
that's a
Right.
thought.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's what I was thinking too. I just wanted to get everything.
Yeah, there's still money available.
Right.
CARES Act doesn't
Yeah.
work. Okay.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Dave, I have a proposal for you. That is, we'll get you and your wife to come to an opera and make Michael and Lori come to the rodeo.
Lori's probably been to rodeos before. She's from that kind of community.
You can't make anyone go to a rodeo. They will always want to.
No, that's fine.
You know, and serious, I've talked to my wife about this. She says, you need culture, Dave. And so I would like to, I would go to an opera. I would love to, but I'd be kind of picky which one I go to. So I'll pick one. I'll buy tickets and go.
Go to a musical. They had
Dave,
it before last year.
Dave, so you don't have to worry about it. I'll fund you. I think my daughter's doing the Broadway Bound this year, so she'll be in Pirates of Penzance. So I like to show her off a little
Pirates
bit.
of Pan,
I don't even know what that is. I follow her along.
Okay.
is all I
Good, it
know.
has good music.
We'll be lost together.
we'll work with Paul on that. We'll get
I
some-
married a cowgirl. My hard part is keeping her off the horse. Wouldn't it be fun to watch Michael ride a mutton?
Actually, no.
to see that. We could probably fill the stands and charge double to watch him.
We'll get it worked out, though.
Okay, let's move on. We have,
If there's anybody else here. Is there anybody else here to increase RAPS funding?
no, that was all.
We oughta have-
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And I am very positive about this. My middle name is Pollyanna. I don't give up. I want next season, and I want the next 100 seasons.
We all do. And we need to get more.
Okay, is there anybody else here desiring RAPS funding? Okay, let's move on. We've got no department or committee reports, no Board of Equalization matters, I don't think, is there? We've got some public hearings to set. A, set a public hearing for July 28th at 5:25 PM, Resolution 2016, ratifying the appointment of Cache County Drainage District Number 6 Board of Trustees. Do we have a motion? Or I guess we can do these in one motion. We've got a public hearing on July 28th at 5:30 PM, Community Impact Funding Board, grant application for urban and rural development assessment cost. We've got public hearing for July 28th at 5:40, requesting funding for the Cache County Council of Governments for Mons Corner improvements. And finally, set a public hearing for July 28th at 5:50 PM, Cache County Service Area Number 1, Resolution 2020-01, approving an adjustment of solid waste collection and disposal fees and mandatory curbside recycling. Any discussion on any of these public hearings?
Set all those public hearings as aforementioned.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, no pending action on this agenda. Initial proposals for consideration of action, we have Resolution 2020-14, amending the Cache County Corporation Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual regarding special leave for booking clerks. Any questions on that action? I think Amy had that fairly clearly stated in our packet. Anything you want to add, Amy?
No, just booking clerks work the same types
Any questions, any concerns anybody has?
Make a motion to waive the rules and adopt resolution 2020-14.
Second.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And we have resolution 2020-15 approving the filing of a cross appeal to Pacific Corps' appeal of the central assessment of its property for the year 2020. Again, that was fairly clearly laid out. John, do you have anything to add?
Only if there are questions.
I make a motion then that we waive the rules and approve resolution 2015, approve the filing of a cross appeal.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. 13C, approval of the amended Cache County Economic Development Strategic Plan.
So that one, there wasn't much. It was just adding in the fact that the threat was the availability of water going
Right.
forward.
Yeah.
And ag was definitely in the strengths category and someone needed to focus on, which I think those two things now show up in writing in that plan.
Okay, yeah, I saw that too. Do we have a motion to approve it?
I just had a question on that. So that's all there was just that one tiny wording change. There wasn't any details added in, correct?
Just adding that to the threats, basically, and confirming that all the other language in the strengths, as far as our reliance on ag and how important it is to the county, showed up there.
If you take water, the valley's gone.
Yeah.
That's kind of the whole, it's perhaps a pretty big impact.
For 10 years to get.
Oh, yeah.
Drove poor Barbara crazy.
Yep. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve the amended Cache County Economic Development Strategic Plan.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And finally, 13D, a discussion of property tax hardship application process.
I was the one that asked for that, and I did go talk over there and found out what I needed to find out.
Oh, okay.
Anything that we ought to know?
No, they went by what the law is.
So is the county employees happy? That's the main thing.
I don't know, Jill's here for the first time for a while, so I guess she is. I know her understudy is, so. I think everyone's happy, aren't they?
We're getting along with Barbara. We've been working with Barbara, and she knows a lot more than I think you used to know about the process, and
Yeah.
it's coming right along.
Yeah, I think it's
Okay then?
Well, one time we had talked about it, and then it just kind of died a natural death. That's why I wanted to know what happened, but
Well, my
Found
concern
out.
was, I wasn't here when you had the initial discussion. That was a week that I wasn't here. And I was hoping that we wouldn't go back and make the same mistake we did, years and years ago and have a mess. And it sounds like it worked its way out without doing that.
well, they went by what the code says.
Yeah, I went, visited with Jill. She invited me in because they had about 4 applications that they wanted me to take a look at, and we discussed different things on it, and I'm feeling very good about the job they're doing. And there was one in particular where I said, well, I don't think we need to do that, but we do need to get this, and so, yeah, I think it's working out really well, and I think Jill's doing a great job. And I appreciate her invited me in to look at things, so.
So you're comfortable, Jill? Everything's copacetic now and comfortable? Okay, good. All right, other business, we have a parade on Saturday.
I will not be able to be there.
Okay. Come to Skin Town. And, you've never heard Skin Town? That's what Hyde Park was. That was its nickname.
really?
I grew up in Hyde Park. Come to Skin Town.
Basketball?
Why did they call it that?
A hide is the skin of an animal.
Oh.
Call it Skin Town.
William Hyde.
Yeah, named after William Hyde, but its nickname was Skin Town.
I didn't know that.
What's that?
That was pretty exciting.
Yeah. Hey, I'm grasping for some kind of levity after all this serious stuff.
Get out of Logan once in a while.
Yeah, that's right, yep.
All right, Mark.
And our county employee summer party on Wednesday, the 22nd.
Sounds like I'm a
Amy.
waiter. I'm a waiter. Anybody want to wait with me?
Yeah.
If I'm in town, I'll wait.
I'm not gonna wear barn boots. I'll wear tennis.
You and me both, shorts and tennis shoes.
And
Yeah. Oof.
I'll help in the drink truck, so,
Okay.
okay. I won't get wet unless I spill.
You'll sit there at 95 degrees and just sweat, and John and I'll be out there waiting.
I
in the
was a
water.
bartender once. I can do that with several.
Do that.
several
Come with me.
times.
Sean, TMI.
Aye.
All right, let's go to council member, I'm
Mr.
so-
Chairman, can I break in here? We need to set a public hearing for a budget opening at 6:30 on the July 28th meeting.
At 6:30?
Yes. If
You guys make it impossible for me to beat Dave's record for short meetings,
Just try to set a long one.
Yeah, I know. Long meeting record, okay.
Doling out money takes a lot of time.
Somebody's got a second. We can get on with this.
I'll
All right.
second it.
Who made the motion?
John did.
John, okay.
Second, Barbara.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, council member reports. Gordon?
Busy hot summer. No matter how many people in the county is praying that I'll get the virus, I'm still.
You know what? My prayers are working. Because you haven't got it.
Oh, other than that, I shouldn't make fun of it.
Gina?
On a serious note, we had that grandma request in our packet, and I do think there were maybe some good points in there, because I do have a few questions on our COVID numbers, and I don't know if Craig is the head of the health department board, you could help out with that, but some of the questions that I'm hearing from people are, the people that get the disease or those dying of it, is it with it or because of it? And I don't know if it's possible to make some of those distinctions, but people wonder that. And one of the questions that I've had is with the case counts for the positive tests increasing as they go up. I'm curious about where the source of that is. Is that people coming in because they feel ill, or is it people just curious and being tested? Is it companies testing their folks? Is it people going in and getting tested as they go into the hospital? Is there any way to get a sense of that? Craig, would you know anything on that?
I can answer your first question.
Okay.
If your heart's bad and you're waiting to get your heart fixed and you're gonna die in 2 weeks, if you catch COVID and go to the hospital, you died of COVID. That's just the way it is. That's how it's reported.
That's how it's reported.
Yes.
Chasing the dollar.
And the first two that died in Utah, one had a bad heart and one had something else. But, obesity, that's why you're a high risk. And so it's reported, but COVID is actually, you coughed and COVID's what killed you. You may have been gonna die in 3 days, but that's what did it. So it's reported as a COVID death.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, we can inquire from the health department or even from the state health department. This request, I'll have to look at the details of this grandma request, but it may be more appropriate for that to go to the state rather than to come to the county. So I will take another look at that in depth. I've just seen the cover letter that comes with it, basically. So, thank you.
Thanks. Barbara?
Just our celebration for the women's celebration is still on August 26th. We'd love for everyone to come. We're going to have, it's going to be in about an hour long. We're going to have some speakers, one of which features Gina. We'll be giving some history on what's happened with the women's suffrage movement in the early stages of that. I had a first meeting with the new Trails Committee person today, and she seems like she's really on top of things and willing to get things going again on that. So I appreciated her calling that meeting, and Chris was there, and I thought it went very favorable.
John?
Well, I was thinking about going to 26 hours quite a while to see him.
Sacrament meeting's only 45 minutes.
Yeah, you can't cut that back.
Well, the speakers will probably take about half hour, 35 minutes, and then you can go.
No, I think that's neat. You're still doing it. That's good. No, I'm glad that I came here determined that we weren't going to get the operating money. So, and I feel good. That's what I think is good about here. I can say what I think. You can say what you think, and when we're done, we can have a consensus, and it's over. And that's a good thing.
Paul?
I'm just going to tag on to John's comment that of all the citizens that have written in, I appreciate the ones that have engaged in good faith and been actually willing to try to work a solution rather than some of the vitriol that's out there. There's plenty of that, so I commend the citizens that have done that and the ones that haven't. Still get a response, and it's very nice, but I wish they'd step up a little bit.
Thank you. Dave?
I didn't even say anything.
Oh, wait, come on. You're ready to start raising your seats.
First of all, I want to thank the revised minutes there that we had from a few weeks ago, all that detail. It's wonderful to see that kind of detail in there. It actually told a lot better story than what I read in Cache Valley Daily. Anyway, got you on that one. Then, this, I refuse to live as a victim in these times right now. I don't want to be called a victim. I don't want to be even thought of as a victim. And right now there is some things that are being pushed that we're all victims of this thing, and I'm sorry, we're flat out not. And we just need to adapt. We move on. Let's get going. I just think that we deal with it head on rather than all these little things that keep restricting and restricting. I think we need just to move on things. But that's what's there's a lot of things that are being exploited and pushed right now, and a lot of dollar chasing that's going on. It's just really bothering me that I refuse to jump in the middle of all of it. And I think there's better conversations out there and some things, and I think we can have a lot more faith than fear right now. That's how I didn't even swear at all on that one. So.
Thank you. Well, I just want to finish up. I appreciate all of you. This is really my motivation for running again, was being able to work with all of you. I got to tell you though, every time I come here, I have to repent of the sin of envy, because you guys that get to farm, I am so envious. I wanted to do that my whole life.
Come on out.
But you can't, but unless somebody gives you the land and you can start out with something.
You can still farm.
Can't get into it.
Come out on my place. All
right.
He'll even put you up, Carl.
But I want to make a living. Anyway.
Carl, we'd love to have you show up about 4 o'clock in the morning and we'll make a true farmer.
All right.
He may regret what he said.
You know, I really, my whole life that was a goal, but I could never find a way to make it work.
It's a wonderful lifestyle and an awful poor way to make a living. But other than that.
Yeah. So anyway, I appreciate I've never been to an opera comment, and because your interests are lying elsewhere. Some of the rest of us, we've had to shift our interests in other directions, but because we don't have that advantage, or in my mind, a blessing. Anyway, thank you all. We'll adjourn our meeting.